I sighed, zipping up my suitcase. Jason, we're leaving for the weekend. Try not to burn the house down, okay? My son rolled his eyes. Relax, Mom. I'm not a kid anymore. Could have fooled me, I muttered. Jason's idea of being an adult was playing in his going nowhere band and sleeping till noon. Carl appeared in the doorway, car keys jingling. Ready, honey? We need to beat traffic. I hesitated, glancing at Jason sprawled on the couch. Maybe we should stay. Come on, Carl pleaded, wrapping an arm around me. When's the last time we had a weekend to ourselves? I couldn't remember. Between my teaching job and Carl's pilot schedule, alone time was as rare as a unicorn sighting. Fine, I conceded, turning to Jason. No parties. No trouble. Got it? He flashed an angelic smile that didn't fool me for a second. Got it, Mom. Have fun. As we drove away, I couldn't shake the feeling I'd regret this. But damn, did I need a break. The resort was swanky as hell. Carl whistled as we pulled up. Damn, remind me to thank Jim for these passes. I was too busy checking my phone. No missed calls. No angry texts from neighbors, huh? Babe, relax, Carl said, squeezing my hand. Jason's fine. Let's enjoy this, yeah? I nodded, pocketing my phone. He was right. I needed to unwind. We checked in and hit the bar. 2 cocktails later, I was feeling looser than I had in months. Remember when we used to do this all the time? Carl grinned, clinking his glass against mine. I snorted. Yeah, before we had a walking disaster for a son. He's not that bad, Carl chuckled. Says the guy who's never had to explain to the principal why our kid thought mooning the school assembly was a good idea. We laughed, and for once I didn't feel the weight of being a mom. Just a woman having a drink with her hot pilot husband. Later tangled in silk sheets, Carl murmured. See? Told you we needed this. I had to agree. But as I drifted off, a tiny part of me still wondered what Jason was up to. We pulled into our driveway earlier than planned. I was antsy to get home, half expecting to see fire trucks or police cars. Looks quiet, Carl remarked, grabbing our bags. I fumbled with my keys, bracing myself. Too quiet. The door swung open. I blinked, stunned. No beer cans, no pizza boxes, no passed-out teenagers. Holy shit, I breathed, running a finger along the spotless coffee table. Am I hallucinating? Carl chuckled. Maybe Jason's finally growing up. I snorted. Yeah, and maybe pigs fly, but I couldn't deny the evidence. The place was immaculate. I'm gonna check upstairs. I called to Carl, who was lugging our bags to the laundry room. As I climbed the stairs, I found myself hoping Jason was home. Despite everything, I'd missed the little pain in the ass. I reached his door, took a deep breath, and turned the knob. Jason, you in here, honey? The sight that greeted me made my jaw drop. I slammed the door shut, my heart pounding. Carl, I hissed, stumbling back downstairs. You're not gonna believe this. Here's beat 4, continuing directly from the previous bait. Carl met me at the bottom of the stairs, concern etched on his face. What's wrong? Is Jason okay? I grabbed his arm, pulling him to the couch. I just saw. My voice was barely above a whisper. What? Carl leaned in, eyes wide. Jason, in bed. With Chris? Carl's brow furrowed. Chris, his bandmate? I nodded, running a hand through my hair. They were kissing. Oh, Carl said, leaning back. Then, oh. We sat in silence for a moment, processing. I couldn't get the image out of my head. My son, lips locked with his best friend. Well, Carl finally said, that explains a lot. I shot him a look. What do you mean? He shrugged. The rebellion, the attitude. Kid's probably been scared to tell us. I felt a pang of guilt. Had we made Jason feel he couldn't come to us? What do we do? I asked. Carl squeezed my hand. We talked to him, let him know it's okay. I nodded, taking a deep breath. Jason, I called out. Can you come down here and bring Chris with you? We heard shuffling upstairs. This was going to be interesting. Jason appeared at the top of the stairs, his face flushed. Chris trailed behind, looking like he wanted to disappear into the wallpaper. Hey, Mom. Dad, Jason mumbled, avoiding eye contact. You're, back early? I patted the couch. Sit down, boys. We need to talk. They shuffled over, sitting as far apart as possible. The silence was thick enough to cut with a knife. Carl cleared his throat. So, Jason, is there something you want to tell us? Jason's eyes darted between us. He took a deep breath. Chris and I are dating, he blurted out. I nodded, trying to keep my voice steady. How long? 6 months, Jason admitted. 6 months. I couldn't help but exclaim, and you didn't tell us because... Jason's shoulders slumped. I was scared. I didn't know how you'd react. Chris, still silent, reached for Jason's hand. I watched as my son visibly relaxed at the touch. Jason, Carl said gently, we love you no matter what. I nodded, feeling a lump in my throat. We just wish you told us sooner. Jason's eyes welled up. Really? You're okay with this? Of course we are, honey, I said, reaching out to squeeze his knee. We just want you to be happy. The tension in the room dissipated. For the first time in years, I felt like I was really seeing my son. The relief on Jason's face was palpable. He let out a shaky laugh, wiping his eyes. Shit, I've been stressing about this for months. I couldn't help but chuckle. Language, young man. Chris finally spoke up, his voice trembling. Mr. and Mrs. Johnson, I just want you to know I really care about Jason. Carl nodded, a smile tugging at his lips. We can see that, Chris, and please call us Carl and Sarah. I turned to Chris, curiosity getting the better of me. So, how did this all start? I thought you two were just in the band together. Jason groaned. Mom, seriously. What? I'm interested. I protested. Chris grinned, some of his nervousness fading. It's okay, Jace. Well, Sarah, it kind of just happened. Yeah, Jason added, his face softening as he looked at Chris. One night after practice, we were just talking and, I don't know, something clicked. I felt a warmth in my chest, watching them. This was a side of Jason I hadn't seen in years. Well, Carl said, clapping his hands together, I think this calls for a celebration. Chris, why don't you stay for dinner? Chris looked surprised, really. If it's not too much trouble. Nonsense, I said, standing up. I make a mean lasagna, and I want to hear all about this band of yours. As I headed to the kitchen, I heard Jason whisper to Chris, See? Told you they were cool. For the first time in a long while, I felt like our family was whole again. Here's beat 7, continuing the story's flow. Over the next few weeks, Chris became a regular fixture at our dinner table. At first, the boys were awkward, barely touching like they were afraid we'd freak out. For God's sake, I said one night after Jason practically jumped away from Chris when I walked in. You don't have to act like you're in a 1950s sitcom. We know you're dating. Jason blushed. Sorry, Mom. It's just weird, you know? Carl chuckled. Trust me, son. It's weirder for us. But slowly things changed. Chris started helping me with dishes after dinner. Jason actually emerged from his room before noon on weekends. One Saturday I came home to find them sprawled on the couch, Chris's head in Jason's lap as they watched a movie. Hey, Mom, Jason said casually, not moving. We saved you some popcorn. I felt a lump in my throat. This was the son I'd missed, relaxed, happy himself. Later, I overheard them in the kitchen. Your parents are so cool, Chris was saying. My dad still barely looks at me. I know, Jason replied. I can't believe I waited so long to tell them. I quietly backed away, giving them privacy, but I couldn't stop smiling. That night, in bed, Carl turned to me. I think our kid's growing up. I nodded, thinking of the changes I'd seen. Yeah, I said softly. I think he is. Mom, Dad, we need to talk. Like those words, coming from Jason at dinner, made my stomach drop. I exchanged a worried glance with Carl. Everything okay, son? Carl asked, setting down his fork. Jason took a deep breath, grabbing Chris's hand. We've got some news. I braced myself. Pregnancy? Element? With these two, who knew? I got a scholarship, Jason blurted out, to a music college in England. I blinked, stunned. England? But what about your gap year? The band? This is huge, Jace, Carl said, beaming. Congratulations. Jason smiled, but it was tinged with nervousness. Thanks, Dad, but there's more. Chris squeezed Jason's hand. I've been accepted to a university there, too. We're going together. Whistleblowing fell silent. I felt like I'd been punched in the gut, my baby moving across an ocean. When? I managed to choke out. Fall semester, Jason replied. So, in about 3 months? Carl nodded slowly. That's a big step, boys. We know, Chris said, but we've thought it through. This is what we want. I looked at Jason, really looked at him. Gone was the rebellious teen I'd been battling for years. In his place sat a young man, eyes bright with determination and hope. Well, I said, forcing a smile, I guess we better start planning a going-away party. Jason's face lit up. He jumped up, pulling me into a hug. Thanks, Mom. This means everything to us. As I held him, I realized my son was growing up, whether I was ready or not. The next few months flew by in a whirlwind of visa applications, packing boxes, and tearful goodbye. Before I knew it, we were standing in the airport, Jason and Chris's flight to London looming on the departure board. You've got everything, right? I fussed, checking Jason's carry-on for the 100th time. Passport? Medication? Emergency contacts? Jason rolled his eyes, but his smile was gentle. Yes, Mom. We've been over this 1,000,000 times. Carl clapped a hand on Chris's shoulder. You boys look out for each other, all right? Chris nodded solemnly. We will, sir. I promise. As the final boarding call echoed through the terminal, I felt my chest tighten. This was it. I'm so proud of you, I whispered, pulling Jason into a fierce hug. Both of you. Jason hugged me back just as tightly. I love you, Mom. Thanks for everything. I pulled back, cupping his face in my hands. You call us as soon as you land, okay? And every week after that. I will, he promised. As they walked towards security, hand in hand, I felt Carl's arm wrap around me. He'll be okay, he murmured. I nodded, wiping away a tear. I know, it's just to let go, Carl finished. We watched as Jason turned back one last time, waving. Then he and Chris disappeared into the crowd. I took a shaky breath. When did our little boy grow up? Carl squeezed my shoulder. Right in front of our eyes, honey. Right in front of our eyes. 6 months later, I found myself in Jason's old room, surrounded by remnants of his childhood, dusty trophies, faded posters, and that ratty stuffed dinosaur he'd never admit to keeping. My phone buzzed, a video call from Jason. Hey, Mom. His grinning face filled the screen, London's gray sky visible behind him. Hi, sweetie. How's it going? Great. We just finished midterms. Chris ate his, of course. I heard Chris's laugh off screen. Only because you helped me study, babe. Jason's eyes softened at Chris's voice, and I felt a pang of, not jealousy exactly, pride maybe. Mom, you okay? Jason's voice snapped me back. Yeah, just thinking. I gestured around the room. I'm clearing some of your old stuff. Thought you might want a few things sent over. Jason's eyes widened. My Jurassic Park poster. I've been looking everywhere for one like it. I chuckled. Consider it done. So, tell me about your classes. As Jason launched into a story about his music theory professor, I settled onto his old bed, listening. His face was animated, hands gesturing wildly as he talked. This was my son, not the sullen teenager who'd slammed doors and broken curfew, not the scared boy who'd hidden his true self, but this passionate, confident young man chasing his dreams across an ocean. Mom? Jason's voice softened. I miss you guys. I smiled, feeling tears prick my eyes. We miss you too, honey, so much. Thanks, he said quietly, for everything, for accepting me, us. I thought about the journey we'd been on, the shock, the adjustment, the goodbyes, and now this new chapter. Always, Jason, we love you, both of you. As we said our goodbyes, I looked around the room once more. It was time to let go of the past. My son had grown up, found love, found himself. And really, isn't that all any parent could ask for?